Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going down, brother?
I was going to make a crude joke. I won't do that. Intrigued by this episode. So, yeah,
Let's just jump into it. We were
let's
joking
just
about
jump
this a little
in.
bit, guys. We'll tell you why as we go through it. But the title of this podcast is Life After Divorce. And it's a question we get a lot. Like, a lot of men are coming through the activation program, activation method. If that's your entry point program into finding us, a lot of guys are coming in there to save their marriage, right? Or at least make their marriage better, right? They want to go from good to great. And some guys are on the brink of divorce. Divorce papers have already been filed, and they want to see if they can salvage it. Now, transparently, there's a percentage of guys that aren't able to save it. They've waited too long, or something has happened along their journey. The woman's out, right? She's made up her mind. She may not even talk to the guy anymore. So for those guys, we get to see two sides of this fence, right? The first side of the fence are men that don't go through the program, either men we know personally, either through our networks, or men that we've talked to and stayed in contact with that end up getting a divorce. Maybe they've entered a different program of ours. Maybe they're in our community, or maybe we're just in contact with them. This is a movement, so we don't just dump people to the curb by any means. Our advisors, the guys that you get on a phone call with, just to give you an idea, they're all alumni, right? They've been through the program themselves. So we take each man's journey very, very seriously here. And then we also have men who've been through the activation method, and for one reason or another, right, that they have gone through with divorce. Now, sometimes it's the man that's decided, gone through the program and said, I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. I'm out, for whatever reason, right? And that has happened as well. So we have two viewpoints here, and we'll talk about the differences and what life after divorce can look like for several men, for several of the men that we see go through that experience.
Let's do it.
So it's the first case scenario, and these are some guys that I know as well. And full, disclaimer, I guess, is I'm a product of a divorced family, right? My parents split up when I was 4, divorced when I was 5, I believe. So I talked to the guys who are going through divorce about what it's like to be a child through that process, et cetera. But what happens to a lot of the guys that don't go through the program is they're caught off guard, right? 75% of divorces are initiated by the wife, and they're caught off guard. And they find themselves stuck in almost this stressed out limbo. They're stressed out because they don't know what to do. They've lost themselves along the way. The fire and burning desire that was once inside them has dissipated to a cold, pale bleakness almost. And as they're going through this divorce process, they have two things. A lot of these guys get stuck in the area of sadness. They're not even angry, they're just sad. And they start to tell their story about their divorce, their story about how it ended. And it starts to get so old. The victimhood, that it's not their fault, how this is all happening to them, the verbiage they choose to use really puts these men in a downward spiral. Now, it's not these guys' fault. It's not their fault. Society has taught us to be in this way, right? Instant gratification, instant this, instant that. And then men along this way, we're told to provide. Hey, look, if you go out there, you get a good job, or you start a business, you're an entrepreneur, what you want to do is you want to dedicate yourself to this business, make money, get married, have 2.3 kids, picket fence around your house, buy your house, own your house. You do all this, you're going to be happy. And as they get into their late 30s, 40s, 50s, they start to see the mirage for what it is. Whoa. I'm making the money. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I got the boat. I got the car. I got the jet skis. I got the toys. I got the house. I got the dog. I even got a Labradoodle because, I did all the right things. So why is this happening to me? And it's a story we hear a lot, thousands of times from men. Why is this happening to me? And in that pursuit of this dream that they were sold, they've lost themselves along the way. I was in this spot where I remember trying to figure out, what do I want to do for fun? I was playing competitive sports to my mid 30s. And then after that, outside that, I was like, okay, I got a day off. What do I want to do? Oh, I don't know. Do I want to go snowboarding? I don't know. Do I want to go? I got a free day. What am I going to do? Well, I ended up doing projects around the house, getting things done, being busy. Not necessarily something that filled my soul because I didn't know what to do. I was sold that same dream. I had 3 companies at the time going through it. So a lot of men do it. And when men are on that side of the fence that I was at, quite frankly, when my wife and I were going through our issues, if we would have gone through with divorce, luckily we were able to bring it back. I would have been there. I would have felt like a victim. I would have felt like, why is this happening to me? Everywhere else in my life, I'm killing it, but not here. Why am I a product of this? And what happens for these guys is it takes them a long time to get back on the horse. Dating doesn't become easy to them, right? They're in this self-destructive behavior pattern. They're in this level of stress and loneliness and depression that the only way that they can find company and solace is by sharing their victimhood. Finding somebody who's going to say, you know what, it's not your fault. Oh, it's so horrible this happened to you, right? That's codependency. On the flip side of this, we have a private group within our, not on Facebook, but in our private community. This is for men who, for one reason or another, again, they may have chosen it, or maybe it's gone too far, who've graduated our program and are divorced or have been through a divorce, I should say, because some of these guys have quickly found another significant other. Not in a rebound like effect, but because they have such ownership of who they are as a man, they become like magnets to attract people to them. And part of those people are women. And the women that are attracted to them are powerful women, which is a very interesting and different dynamic than the relationship and marriage they were in. So for these guys, life after divorce, it is much more centered. They're not trying to go out there to find somebody to fill them, to fill the void within them. They're not out there trying to find someone who's going to complete them at all. They're not even, most of these guys aren't even looking for them. Now, some of the posts in there, some of these guys are having a really good time in the dating scene. These guys, I mean, imagine we've talked about going deactivated, which is like 98% of the men out there, to an activated male, an alpha male, right? These guys would, for the first time, probably for these guys since they were in their 20s, maybe college or something along those lines, if ever. And now they're the rare catch that's out there on the marketplace. It's almost like if if you're the only car for sale in a world where millions of people want to buy a car and you're the only car out there, you can command any price you want for that car, right? And that's the way these men are feeling. But the thing that's different to me, Tim, about these guys is the fact that they don't need anyone else. They don't need anything else to fulfill them. They have found that fire in them, and that flame is burning so bright that they are on their own journey. They don't need someone to tell them that they're doing a great job. They don't need someone to complete them. Yeah, sure, they might want a passenger on the side seat of the car to ride with them on their journey of life. And maybe they even want to jump in the passenger seat from time to time. But they are on their journey and they are more focused and dedicated than ever before to being a father, right? Most of these guys have reconciled whatever relationship they have with their ex and are on good terms, but they're living their life on their own terms, which is very different. So as I watch these two groups of men on this path towards divorce, they're on their way towards divorce or actually life after divorce, you almost see a splitting in the road, right? Kind of a fork in the road. You go to the left, you have one way, one path, kind of the traditional path, right? Where guys get divorced, they're a little overweight, not sure how to get back in the game, not sure what to do, end up talking to all their buddies and their friends that'll listen to them about all their problems. And then you have the other guy, the path on the right. We should talk a lot about the powerful man, one destination, two paths. This is a little different because it's a different destination. The path on the right are the guys that have found themselves who are directly centered on who they are as men. They know where they want to go and are moving decisively towards that path. And that is an attractive mofo for a lot of women out there. The activated male is the natural alpha leader. This is not bang your chest. These guys aren't those kinds of guys. These are owners and CEOs of companies. These are guys, some guys are solopreneurs. These are guys that are basically have chosen their own destiny, so to speak. And most of them look back at the past and go, wow, I was this guy 10 years ago. Life would be different. But they don't harbor that, right? They don't stay in that thought process because they're in a thought process of more abundance, for lack of a better word. They're thinking about their present moment, enjoying it, and also what can we do now in the future as well.
Certainly an abundance of women for these men.
Yeah.
Like literally, they and it's the same for the guys that go through it. Well, it's not the same because nothing's the same. It's very similar for the guys that go through the activation method and reconcile their marriage, right? Because it's the same energy. But yeah, there's just such, what the women really value in the men that go through divorce that have been through the activation method and what they find very attractive is they are very clear with who they are, which by default means they are also very clear with their boundaries. I've had some guys that have been, dating multiple women at the same time and been very open about it. Said, hey, look, this is a bit of fun. And all of the women have found it very attractive that they can't convince them to get into a relationship with them. So much so we've had guys then turn around and say, hey, look, this just isn't for me right now. I'm going to end this. And the woman's like, really? She wants it because she can't have it, right? But they do it from a very calm, grounded place. And again, the reason why we can, one of the reasons anyway, why we get to witness all this is because of the private community. One of the communities within the community where all these guys are supporting one another. And I think that as well is a major reason why they're out of the victimhood too. Obviously, the lessons they go through in the activation method, but then to be around other men, because it's very different, right? Because we've got guys that come into the activation method that say, "Hey, I've spoken to friends, and some of these guys, they've not been divorced, but they're telling me to just leave. But what do they know about divorce? They've not been there." So then by default, if for some reason it doesn't work out and they end up getting divorced, they're in a friendship circle with nobody that really actually gets what they're going through. So it can be very isolating, right? It's much more difficult to thrive after divorce when you're in an environment where nobody else has been there and you're trying to figure it out, right? Whereas if you're in an environment with other men that are thriving on the back end of it, and they all go through hurdles. What's it going to be like raising the kids? The relationship with the ex when they first start seeing somebody date their ex partner. And there are hurdles that come up, but the way that they deal with those hurdles is very different to the guys on the other path that, haven't done the work on themselves. So, you'd think that going through divorce is quite a morbid thing. But for these guys, they're very inspiring. At least they inspire me. I can speak for a lot of the other guys in the brotherhood and the inner circle and just the community. These guys are very inspiring because they take something that is perceived to be a very, again, I'll use the word morbid situation, and they've just turned it into fuel. And it just fuels a fire from a very calm place. It's incredible to see.
It really is amazing to witness. And they're definitely inspiring. They're inspiring men. And I think the label that gets put on people is divorced, single, whatever it may be. That's just a label. These are inspiring, powerful men first and foremost. The relationship status, which is the cool part and the part I'm trying to get to, the relationship status is not even secondary. It's like tertiary to all the greatness that they're having, right? It's
Mhm.
just as much of me saying, you know, I'm American and you're English, right? It doesn't have to take away anything for you being a powerful man or me. It's just a label for these guys. And the secret here that I've picked up on and watching these men through their journey, the secret is, and this is, I think, what brought my wife and I back together is when I figured this out. And I've talked about this in the podcast, is the secret is you're going to have to do the work one way or another. Do you do it before? Do you do it or after? But you're going to do it. Right. That's the difference. And these guys chose to do the work early. And that's, in my opinion, what's allowed them to step into the powerful men that they are.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
that's been the critical component. Now, for some of the guys, the divorce happened and they stuck in the program and they came out the other side doing well, right? And it's been amazing to witness their journey, and nothing but respect and admiration for these guys, because it's more difficult, right? It's more difficult to stick through a program where other men are having, killing it in their relationship, and you decide, yeah, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore, but I'm going to stay in this program because I'm going to come out the other side a better man. That's a that is really impressive when guys to go through that process. And it's a small number of guys, but it's super impressive and inspiring to me to see them, because now it means you're doubling down on your value. These guys are seeing the value in themselves as men and saying, yep, I'm going to raise my stock. I'm going to raise my value as a man. And inevitably, these men contribute to society in such amazing ways, right? Because they're able to. They're able to bring more to the table and contribute to society because of the men they are, irregardless of the relationship status, right? The relationship status is just something else. Whereas the guy on the first path, that's his whole focus is I'm a divorced man. The guys that we see that go through the program, they don't even label themselves in this area. Sure, there's trials and tribulations that these guys go through, and that's why I have a separate group for them so they can discuss some of these things. What happens during a lawsuit? What happens emotionally for the kids? Things of that nature. But within themselves as powerful men, they come out the other side. It's almost like the phoenix rising from the ashes, so to speak. But it's not the ashes of divorce. And I think that's the critical difference, Tim, to me. It's the ashes of being a deactivated man to an activated man is the difference.
Yeah, I'd agree. And, one other thing just to mention, they take something that is usually such a fear, like how's it going to affect the kids? And they just turn it on its head. And they are being, I know some of them listen to this, guys, you are being such phenomenal role models for your kids.
Yes.
And you see it with the images they post of the kids, how happy the kids are and how they get the kids involved in their Alpha Rise and Shine and the conversations they have with them and, all sorts. I could go on. And, it's incredible. It really is to be able to not even maintain, but develop that kind of connection during these times when for some families it can push them apart. It's just incredible to see.
It really is. So, guys, if you're out there and you're finding yourself in this situation where you've been served the papers, or maybe it's past due, right? You already are divorced, and you're listening to this show because you're getting something out of it, some value, which I hope you are. Just remember, you got to go from deactivated to activated one way or another. It doesn't have to be through our program, right? You can do it by listening to this podcast and applying the lessons here. There's over, 300, 400 episodes here, right? Where you can take some nuggets out. We give you calls to action. You could do something like the activation method, but don't allow divorce to be a label for you. Don't allow it to be an excuse for you. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. There is a difference. I am able to see guys I know that don't go through the program and use it as a label, use it as an excuse, use it as a way to tie them down. And then I get to see the guys that have gone through the program and these amazing men stepping into their power, becoming activated men by their own choosing. And the path is so beautiful and so different. But whatever you do, guys, take action. Gentlemen, that's a wrap for us here at the Powerful Man Show. Remember, we're always in your corner. We'll see you over in the Facebook community. And I'd love to hear your insights on how your journey is going. Until then, have an amazing day.